Welcome to Confessions by Banana Ketchup. His name was Walt, so these experiences I have to share aren't necessarily mine, but of my parents and older sister, as most of these events happened before I was born. I'm sorry if some of these seem a bit vague on details, but I'm trying to remember as much as I can from the one time I was told these. Some backstory. Walt had lived in our house years prior to us moving in, and he was an electrician and lover of cats. Both of these are relevant later. Who lived by himself. He loved that house, so when things went wrong, he would fix them, like when the doorbell stopped working. So he went to the basement where the wiring for the doorbell was, and I believe he either had a stroke or a heart attack and fell, hitting his head on the corner of a table he had down there, causing him to die. Like I said, he loved that house. He ended up staying after death. Subsequently, every person or family who had moved in after his death would move out around 6 months in. 3 months if he really didn't like them, until my family moved in 1996. I was to be born the following year. My mom's experience. So, my dad was in the army at the time and was on a deployment. While my mom was doing dishes, she accidentally damaged her wedding ring. So she put it in a Ziploc bag and placed it in her jewelry box right on top, as she would go to bring it to a jeweler to have it repaired. Come the next morning, and lo and behold, the ring is missing. She completely empties the jewelry box and searches around the room, and it is nowhere to be found. Distraught but resigned, as there was nothing she could do. A few months pass, and it is getting close for my dad to come home from deployment, and my mom is starting to get worried on what to say to my dad. Then, one night, my mom is woken up by a strange feeling and hears a man whisper, "Check your jewelry box." Despite feeling doubtful, she checks, and there on top of everything inside is her wedding ring, still in its plastic bag. The next day, my mom goes out and notices a new jeweler shop, and she brings it there, and because of them being new, they were offering discounted prices to gain new customers. So my mom was able to get the ring fixed, and for a cheaper price. My dad's experience. Like I said before, Walt died while trying to fix the doorbell. In all that time, the doorbell was never fixed. So my dad, being the man of the house, tries to fix it, despite not having any experience being an electrician. He takes some tools, a how-to book, and gets right to it for a few hours. He would call up to my mom to test the doorbell to see if it got fixed, but it would not ring. After some time, the pages on how-to book began to flip to the page my dad actually needed, and as he worked, he felt hands on his guiding him to eventually, when he called up to my mom to test the doorbell, she was humoring him for the last time, and to both of their surprise, the doorbell worked. When my mom asked how he did it, he told her that he really didn't know what happened, but it felt like he was giving help. My mom and dad's experience. When they first moved in, they noticed that some of Walt's belongings were still in the house. So they were able to get in contact with his sister, who lived not too far away. The items being a box of personal items in the master bedroom's closet, and his Leatherman jacket in the mudroom's closet. They gathered items and placed it by the front door, so when Walt's sister come, she wouldn't have to wait for them to get the stuff. And then they went about their day. When Walt's sister arrived, Walt's stuff was no longer by the front door. They searched the house from top to bottom, and the stuff was in their original locations. Neither one of my parents claimed they did it, and my sister was only 2, so she would not have been able to put the box back onto the high shelf in the master bedroom's closet. When my parents explained what had happened to Walt's sister, she told them that was like Walt, and he didn't like people touching his stuff. Also, that he was a bit of prankster. Also, this is how they found out it was Walt hunting the house. My sister's experience, and a little bit of mine. My sister could see Walt, and she would have conversations with him often. When my parents asked who she was talking to, my sister would reply with, "The nice, funny man." Honestly, that's still kinda creepy. At night is when Walt would really make himself known. You would hear footsteps coming up the stairs with no one there. Cliché, I know. But you would also hear cats yowling, despite there being no cats around. This was because Walt had a bunch of cats when he was alive, an essentially crazy cat man. When my sister would hear this, she would jump out of bed so she could play with Walt. One time, Walt didn't like the PJs my mom put on me. I was like less than a year old at this time, and took them off of me and put them to the side. Me, being a baby and not liking the sudden cold feeling, started to cry. When my mom came into the room, she saw my sister laughing and asked her what was going on, and my sister replied with that Walt didn't like my PJs, so he took them off. Honestly, that horrified my mom, seeing how I was naked but my sister wouldn't have been able to reach into my crib as she was too small to do so. And such, that would have been the only explanation available. TLDR, Walt, a former occupant, died in the house, helped out my family, and was also a bit of a prankster as a ghost. Thank you, kyseranvix, the author. The night my family deactivated. I got quite a few messages asking for a longer follow-up to my last post. First of all, I greatly appreciate all your intrigue. It brought me joy that people are interested in these experiences. I have contemplated all day over which experience to recount, and have finally settled on one. Until tonight, I had made an effort not to think about this experience because I do not want my brain to change the memory. I have never written it down, though I have always intended to. I remember it so vividly, and I can see it so strongly. I can even remember the pattern of flawed paint on our light switch years after fixing it. This is a true story, and I will recount it exactly as it happened, as accurately as possible. This experience takes place in the summer of 2011. We have a large living room with large storm windows, and in the same open space behind it is the kitchen and a hallway with 2 bedrooms. I had a friend sleeping over. He was on the couch and I on the air mattress in the center of the room. We had a goal of staying up until sunrise and had been playing Halo Reach on the living room TV. By all accounts, it had been a fun night. Sometime in the hour of 3, we decided to switch to watching TV. My friend said he was feeling tired and wanted to take a nap. It was right around 4 a.m. and he set his alarm for 4:45. I, on the other hand, was wide awake from the inhuman amount of caffeine I consumed that night. He fell right out. Now, for the first time in years remembering the events of that night, I just noticed my hands are shaking. I feel sick to my stomach and under pressure in a way that is hard for me to describe. It makes me very anxious to think about still 9 years later. I was watching My Name is Earl, the episode where Earl falls for his personal trainer Wendy. I remember the exact moment the camera shows her for the first time in brown Lynyrd Skynyrd t-shirt. The TV screen goes black, with the bar that reads "No Signal." It displayed this bar for a moment and then completely turned off. Next, the lamps on our kitchen nightlight went out one by one. Through the storm windows came a dull white light that seemed to illuminate the entire interior of the house. I immediately felt a sense of panic. I ran to our white lamp. I remember so vividly looking at the pattern of the fern on the side before rotating the switch. It clicked, but would not start. The light was growing brighter and felt as if it was consuming me. I jumped over our coffee table and shook my friend. There was now a consuming, droning sound. It was mechanical, but like a giant rush of air through lower pitch. I screamed at him, shook him, opened his eyes. I pulled him off the couch and onto the floor, begging him to wake up. I picked up his cell phone and pressed the power button, but no screen would come up. I then ran to the kitchen with the light growing brighter and flicked the light switches. I remember the on and off of the switch and the specks of stray green paint. I ran into my parents' bedroom screaming and trying to shake them awake. I was completely unable to stir them. The light was now seeping into their bedroom. I sprinted out and down the hallway, and it was almost too bright to see. I found my way to my air mattress and covered my head with the blanket. I felt the light consume me and wrap around me, and then it was like I was just out. Very similar to anesthesia. It was like skipping a frame in a movie, Suddenly, I was sitting up in bed on my covers. The mechanical droning quickly faded, and the white light faded away to the yellow morning sunlight coming in through the storm windows. The TV came back on, in the same sequence beginning with the no signal warning. Then the DVR powered back up. The lamps and lights came back one by one. I heard the microwave beep after regaining power. I picked up my friend's phone. It was 7 a.m. I woke him up and he asked why I did not wake him up when his alarm went off. I had no answer. I cannot explain this experience, although I'm absolutely certain it was not a dream. I have had lucid dreams before and they are nothing like this. It was so vivid and I can still see it photographically. I remember the way my friend's eyelids felt when I lifted them, the way the light switches felt, and even exactly how my house was decorated at the time, which has long since changed. I also watched as everything came back on. I have never told this story to anyone before. Thank you, GigaKarenSlayer, the author. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you already haven't, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any new episodes. See you again soon, and until then, please be safe.